Hi guys, I'm Putsy. Welcome back to my channel. I know it's very late. It's already halfway through January and I just now talk about all the books that I want to read in 2025. So like I said, it's going to be my 2025 TBR and I have chosen 25 books for this list just because it's 2025 and I also put 24 for my 2024, so I thought might as well put 25. Now when I said 25, it's not necessarily 25 books because I also put a lot of series in here that I count as one. I don't know why I did that because I'm in the middle of a lot of series. I need to finish that first probably before I jump into another one, but I don't know. I just really in the mood for this. Who knows? I might start a new series and finish it immediately before I finish the one I'm currently in. So yeah, I think overall it's probably close to 50 books because many of them, like I said, are series and so many of them have more than 3 books in one series. But yeah, we're just gonna go through that. I hope I can talk about it quite quickly, but knowing myself, I probably won't, I don't know. And I will put mostly books that I haven't read. I don't put a lot of upcoming releases because I put all of those books in my anticipated releases and I will just read them when they come out. So I don't necessarily put them on my yearly TBR. So most of these are just books that I've always been wanting to read for years or from last year, but obviously I haven't been able to. So most, if not all of them, will be older releases. So I hope that won't be boring. So let's just jump into it. So I actually listed them here based on genre. I have 4 main genre that I usually really love reading, that I usually always in the mood for. Mostly romance, obviously, but I also put dark romance as a different genre because they are quite different. So romance, dark romance, thriller/mystery, and then fantasy. I think I'm just going to talk about the romance first because that's the main category that I have a lot of. And the first one is the Windy City series by Liz Stamford. I think that's the series called. The first one is Mile High. She just released the 4th one called Play Along. I think the one with the purple cover. Oh, by the way, I have all 4 of them back in my bookshelf. Without even reading the first one, I just heard a lot of great things about it from people who have similar taste as me, and I just, you know what, I'm gonna buy that. I really like the cover and I decided to just buy all of them all at once, the first until the 3rd one, and then a couple of months ago when the 4th one was released, I decided to buy that without even having to read even the very first book. So I have all 4 of them in my bookshelf, which is why I put it here. I think a lot of people really like the 4th one even more than the other 3, I think. So that makes me even more excited. I only heard great things about this series mainly, and I think if I put it here and actually read this series, I will also check off my goal to go through my physical TBR as well as finally reading the books I've always been wanting to. It's romance. I think it's also a sports romance. It's an interconnected romance series, so each book follow along different couple, different plot storyline, but they all belong in the same universe, and I cannot wait to finally get into that. Next is Emily Henry. I actually just want to read the rest of the books from her that I haven't read. Emily Henry is one of my favorite authors, but funny enough, the only book I've read from her are Beach Read, People We Meet on Vacation, and in 2024 I finally read the book Lovers because I've read the first 2 on physical book. I bought all the physical book from her that she's released so far, and I have all of them here in Indonesia. And if you don't know, I'm currently in Indonesia, but I actually currently live in Australia. I don't have them with me, but in my head, because I know I like to tab Emily Henry's book because there are so many amazing quotes in it, I want to read the physical book, so I have to wait when I have it with me when I visit Indonesia. But every time I come here, I never actually pick that book or anything really. I rarely read when I'm here. I just want to chill, be with my parents, just relax, enjoy my holiday time here with my family. So I never actually picked them up, but in 2024, I finally start borrowing books from my local library and also from Libby. I sneakily join a membership from Australian library for like digital library so I can borrow ebook and send them to my Kindle. That's another hack. If you don't know that, I think if you're on BookTok or BookTube, you finally have heard about that hack. And I found that available on Libby, like Book Lover. So I decided, you know what? I'm just going to force myself to finally just read it so I can read funny story, because I've heard nothing but incredible things about that. A lot of people put that on their most favorite books of 2024. So I just want to read that, especially since I know Emily Henry will come out with another book in 2025. So Red Book Lovers wasn't my favorite, but I think in terms of rating based on the 3 books I've read so far from her, I put Beach Read, Book Lovers, and People We Meet on Vacation. So now I just want to go through every single one. So by the time she releases her upcoming book, I will finally catch up on all of her books, because in my head, I just want to read all of her books in order of like publishing release order. So yeah, I put Happy Place. I put Happy Place on my 25 TBR, but I also just want to read Funny Story and her upcoming books as well. But we'll see. I just want to read at least one Emily Henry, so I put Happy Place. Happy Place. I don't know why I always say that word wrong. Happy Place, Happy Place. Anyway, next book is Normal People by Sally Rooney. Now, I feel like with this book, you either really love it, like obsessed with it, it becomes one of your holy grail books, or it's also one of your hated books, because it's really in between with this book. It's very character driven, I think, not for everyone, and it's just follow along this group of people without really no plot. So I don't know if that will be for me based on the books that I've read before. I'm typically more keen towards plot-driven story instead of characters. But who knows, maybe I will like this, because a lot of people who usually not liking this type of book also love this book. So I just want to know. It's been years I put Normal People in my TBR, but hopefully this year will finally be the year I read Normal People. Next, White Love, well, you know that series, or Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver. Basically just any of her books, because Elsie Silver is actually one of the authors that I really want to get into in 2024, but I wasn't able to, because I wanted to read Wild Love, but I also know a lot of people rave about Chestnut Spring, and I also really want to read that. In my head, I need to read them in publishing order, or at least Chestnut Spring first and then Wild Love, but I also really want to read Wild Love. I keep going back and forth between reading Wild Love or Chestnut Spring, and I ended up not reading any. So I need to push through my weirdness like thing in my head and just read at least one of her books. I don't know. I don't care which one. The first one from Chestnut Spring or Wild Love. I want to read at least one book from Elsie Silver in 2025. Next is The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy, the first book from, what is it called? Campus Diaries. Campus Diary series by Elle Kennedy. This is kind of a spin-off from Off-Campus series by her, the one with Garrett Graham, and Off-Campus Briar U. It's a continuation, especially the first book, The Graham Effect. It's about the daughter of Garrett Graham. I love Off Balance, not Off Balance. I love Off Campus so much, and I love that one more than Briar U, and I was hoping that I will also love this. No, and I think a lot of people do. I didn't heard a lot of great things about her other books and her other series or standalones, which is kind of weird. I don't know why, but knowing that a lot of people do enjoy this book makes me excited, because like I said, I love Off Campus because it's also kind of set up in the same universe. I think I will also like this. I put this book actually in my 2024 TBR. Wasn't able to get to it in time, and by the time I wanted to read it, she already come out with another one, and I think she will release the third book in the series in 2025. So hopefully I can catch up and read the first two by the time the third one releases. And yeah. Next, Addicted Calloway Sister series by Christine Becca Ritchie. I know there are so many books in this series because, it's basically just Addicted series and Calloway Sister series, but everyone put it as one because it's like the same universe. I think the same kind of group of people. I don't know. I know nothing about this series actually. I just know that everyone raved about this for so many years. I've been wanting to read this. Don't know why I haven't. I think the amount of books in it just a little bit overwhelmed me. But I also just already bought all of the new cover from Addicted and Calloway Sisters series. I have every single one of them here on my bookshelves. I won't be able to read them physically, obviously, but I think at least the first one or a couple of them are available on my Kindle because I somehow always buy them one by one randomly before. I don't know why. I don't even remember. Like, I don't even know that I have them on my Kindle, but apparently I do. So I think it's time for me to finally read this series and be obsessed with it. Knowing me and the type of book I like, I think I will. So I'm excited. And also, yes, I bought all of those books without having read the first one. That's just, don't know why I keep doing that. Next is a book by Lucy Score, which is Things We Hide from the Light. This is the second book, I think the second book from this series, Knock 'em Out series, if I'm not mistaken. I've read the first book, I think 2 years ago, or I don't know, in 2022 or 2023. I remember I liked it. It wasn't my favorite. I think it was, maybe I gave it around 4 stars or something. I also put this book in my 2024 TBR, wasn't able to. I think I got discouraged by a lot of people saying this is one of their least favorite book from the whole series, and I think they like the third one more, and then the first one, and then the second one. I think that's the general opinion, I think. So I got discouraged, especially because this book is also quite thick. Every time I want to open this book, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to try another book first, or something lighter, or something like that. So yeah, but I really want to at least read this series and potentially read the third one as well and finish the whole entire series, you know. Next is two books from Abi Jimenez, but specifically just for the summer. I already put a hold on that book on my Libby. I think I still have to wait for like another 2 or 4 weeks, which I think will be perfect timing for me because by the time that book is ready, I will be in Australia again. And in Australia, if you don't know, we have a completely different weather, different season, like completely flip. We are currently in summer, so that book will be perfect for me to read. I read Part of Your World and Yours Truly in 2024 and was obsessed with it. Abi Jimenez immediately became one of my favorite romance author, I think. And the reason why I read those two books is because I want to read just for the summers, and I did that. So cannot wait to finally read this book. And I also put Say You'll Remember Me, which is her upcoming release in a few months. And I'm so excited for this book, not only because it's Abi Jimenez, but also the cover looks amazing and the title. Obviously, if you are Swiftie, you know why. It's a line from Wildest Dreams. So yeah, super excited. Next is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Now, Ali Hazelwood is also another author that I really, really want to get into besides Abi Jimenez, Elsie Silver, and all of that. But I don't know why. I just am excited, but also not. By reading the synopsis of her books, I think I don't know why. I have them. I have the very first one that I don't even remember what it's called. You know, the one with the blue cover. I really want to read that, but I started, opened the book, and just completely forget about it like a couple years ago for some reason. Don't know why I did that, but yeah, every time she releases a new book, I always think, oh, I think this is finally gonna be my time to read her books. This is gonna be my first book of her that I've read. Never happened. I think I'm also interested to read her upcoming book in 2025, but I just want to put Bride in here specifically because based on the premise, I think I will like this. It's about vampire, if I'm not mistaken, and I love vampires. I love Twilight. I also really like Vampire Diaries, so I think I will love this. Steph also really loved this book, and she just said great things about it, so hopefully I will also really like it. And I think it's just different and fresh from her because usually she writes stories about women in chem or bio or wait, women in what? Yeah, like smart women. But this one is obviously a little bit more fantastical with vampire and stuff. So next book is basically book from this author, but don't know which one. I also put two on the list, which is books from Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have read most of her books. I think there are a couple of books from her back catalog that I haven't read, but I haven't read Carrie Soto is Back, which a book she came out with, I think, in 2022 or 2023, or maybe no, yeah, it's been years, right? I have that physically on my bookshelves, and then I went to Australia, just like Emily Henry. I just wanted to read her books physically because I like to highlight them and everything. So I always like hold off every time I see the book, and I just don't want to buy a new one. I've seen it available on my local library a couple of times, but never actually picked it up. So I think this year I will finally pick the book up. Carrie Soto is back, and she will come out with another one as well, finally in 2025, called Atmosphere. So I also put that in my TBR list, but regardless, just one of her books, either Atmosphere or Carrie Soto is Back, or both. I hope I can read them both because I just love her writing so much. I cannot wait to see how she writes the story, because every single book, especially since Lucy Jones, Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and all of that, have different like writing style or technique or point of view, perspective. Yeah, so I cannot wait to see how these two books are written. The last romance I put on this list is Severed Heart by Kate Stewart. It's the second book from the Ravenhood Legacy series. It's a spin-off from the Ravenhood series, which is Flock, Exodus, and The Finish Line. Those three books have my heart. I will forever love that book. I was obsessed with it. I actually have read all of the books in that series twice within the same year. That's how obsessed I was with it. I read it on my Kindle first and then listened to the audiobook next. Both of them are amazing. Like, honestly, the second book especially made me cry so many times, which rarely happen as well during reading. I'm such an emotional person and I cry easily when I watch movies, but it's a bit hard for me to actually cry during reading because usually the cry and the tears only happen in my head. In my head, I was crying like bawling my eyes out, but I rarely actually like shed some tears. But during this book, I actually did. This Ravenhood Legacy series is actually, each book I think will tell a story of every single like main or like side characters within the Ravenhood series, giving us the background story, what happened other than what we've seen in those three books. The first one was about Dom, which obviously if you've read the Ravenhood series, you know why that book is so sad. It's just interesting to see him as a person more in depth, and also all the things that happen from his point of view, because he is such he's more quiet, I think more mysterious. I read that and really liked it. And this Severed Heart is actually about, I forgot his name. It's about Tyler. It's about Tyler and Delphine. We've seen Tyler a lot throughout the series, but we don't get to see his backstory, obviously. We don't know or why or how he became who he is. He joined the gang and everything. And we also see a lot of his relationship with Delphine. Their romance story is always intrigued me because they're like very present in the series, but also we don't know a lot about it. I think there are so much more going on with them behind what we've already know and see. So I'm just very excited about this one specifically because I really want to know. And knowing this series, I think it will also be very emotional, especially knowing what ended up happening to them. So yeah. Next, I think I'm going to talk about thriller/mystery first. The next one is the Inheritance Game series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I have read the first book, so by that I mean I just want to finish the whole entire series, but at least the second book, which is the Hawthorne Legacy. I think that's what's the second one called, right? I've had all of them physically, and again, just like Emily Henry and Taylor Jenkins Reid, I started it physically. I just want to finish it physically, but I know realistically I won't be able to, so I really just want to finish this whole entire series before I actually forget what it's about, because some of the details from the first book already slipped away. I don't even remember the name like of the name of the brothers, like from the Hawthorne brothers. I don't know their name. I don't know each characteristics. I just know kind of the broad general storyline. So hopefully I can still remember things by this when I read the second book. And obviously there are so many books as well. I think I don't know if it's still part of the same series or is it a spin-off series after the Final Gambit, but there's also the Hawthorne brothers or something, and then the Grandest Game. Like there are so many more books within this universe, and I just wanna catch up myself on that, you know. And also, I really wanna read the Natural series by her, but I'm gonna wait until I finish this series first before I get into that one. Next is Verity by Colin Hoover. I don't know if that's a thriller. I think it is a thriller or a horror or something like that, but I've always wanted to read that. I put that on my TBR, I think almost every year, or at least in my head, oh, this is gonna be the time I finally read this book, but I haven't been able to. I finally read It Ends With Us by Colin Hoover in 2024 because of the movie that came out, and I quite enjoy it. I see like the good and the bad of the books, but it wasn't the worst book I've read. It wasn't that bad. So now I just want to read Verity, especially because I've seen the news that it will become a movie or a TV series, and I think a movie, right? I think, if I'm not mistaken, Dakota Johnson and Anna Hathaway, or just Dakota Johnson, will play in the movie, and that makes me excited because I really like her. So this time, I really just want to read the book first before I watch the movie, so I will be able to like shock myself and see what it's about. I think a lot of people, even if they don't like Colin Hoover's other books, they usually like Verity because it's so like different. I don't know. You know, I just really want to check it out before the movie comes out. Oh, the last book I put in my thriller section is actually, I already kind of touched on this a little bit. It's the natural. Why is it so hard for me to pronounce? It's the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So sorry, English is not my first language. Yeah, the series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I've heard only great things about it. Obviously, it's a thriller mystery about a group of teenagers, I think, who have like supernatural ability or something, and they got hired by the police to solve cases or something like that, which sounds very interesting. So cannot wait to read that. But like I said, I really want to try to finish the Inheritance games first before I get into this one. Next is Dark Romance. I have a couple of books. I have actually quite a lot of books here. I used to be like ashamed of it and not really want to talk about it publicly, but I mean, I'm just gonna say it now proudly that I actually love dark romance. So yeah, I put a lot of dark romance books on my yearly TBR now. The first one is Haunting Adeline, which is the first book from the Cat and Mouse series by H.D. Carlton. I really want to read just the whole series, the whole duology, but at least the very first one. I think it's very hit and miss. A lot of people really love this series, but a lot of people really hate it, especially if you're not that into dark romance. I think you will hate it. But I also saw even people who don't usually like dark romance like this book, so I don't know, it's kind of polarizing. I just want to see if I like it or not, but knowing me, I think I will like it. I've read actually one of H.D. Carlton's other book. It's the one with the shark in it. I forget the name, but I quite like it. It wasn't my favorite dark romance, but there are a lot of things in it that I actually like and enjoy. So I have high hopes for this duology actually, because it's just been highly raved about, and I hope I'm the one in the loving sport like. Next is Sicko by Amo Jones. I hope I'm pronouncing her names right. I don't know what it's about. I don't know the premise of the story. I actually don't know why. I think I've heard people love this before, and then I borrow it immediately on my Kindle Unlimited, and ever since then, I think it's been more than a year, I just have that book on my Kindle Unlimited untouched. It's just been there. So every time I open my Kindle, I'm always like, maybe I should read this, but I'm also not sure because I don't know what it's about. I always go for another books, but I think this year I will try to read this book so I can finally get it off my Kindle Unlimited list. If I return it, I will probably just forget about it. Better just read it and like be done with it so I can actually know why I put it there in the first place. Next is the Legacy of God series by Rina Kent, especially the second and third book, which is God of Pain and God of Wrath. God of Wrath. I think that's how we pronounce it. Sorry. English is not my first language. But yeah, second and third book. Why? Because I actually have read the very first book years ago, like when it first came out. I actually enjoyed it. It wasn't like my top favorite dark romance, but it was kind of in my top tier. I really, really liked it in terms of dark romance goes. But for some reason, I just completely forget about it. I knew when the second book came out, but I was in the middle of something else, I think reading another series or something, so I was like put it off. And then a couple months later, once I come back and wanted to read the second one, she already came out with so many more, like she already on book 4 or something like that. And I was like, where does this come from, you know? Why suddenly there are so many? And I got overwhelmed. And now I feel like everyone just keeps talking about this series, especially Larry and McKay. I love both of them. I trust their judgment in terms of dark romance, and both of them really, really like just keep raving about this series. So I feel like it's finally time for me to catch up on this series and at least read the second and third book in 2025. You know. Next is Beautiful Fiend by Lola King. I think this is the first book from North Shore series. I think that's what it's called. I honestly don't know what it's about at all. All I know is Larry from Larry Reads really, really liked this. I think it's probably one of her favorite book of 2024, if I'm not mistaken. Her mom loved it. I think her mom actually the one who suggested it to her. She made a video of her mom choosing her TBR. Obviously her mom loved it and she also ended up really liking it. I don't even remember what it's about. All I know is that like she's really obsessed with it. Oh, I should put that on my TBR, which is why I put it here. So knowing her and her taste and how similar our taste in books are, I think I will also love it. So we'll see. Next is the Dark Verse series by Runix. I don't remember the name of each book individually, but I just want to read this series in general. I actually have been wanting to read this series for years. I think at least since 2022 or 2021, when this book only have 1 or 2 books in it, or I don't know, it's been years since I've been wanting to read this book, but I kind of forget about it for some reason. Every time I was in the mood for dark romance, I always choose other books and it just always pushed to the side every time. But I think last year, like in 2024, Steph made some videos about her trying to read dark romance because typically it's not her taste in reading. She doesn't really like or read dark romance. She doesn't like bully romance. She tried a bunch of dark romance books and hated or like okay about it. I think she kind of dislikes most of the books that she read in terms of like dark romance. Even some books that I really like, she was like just okay with it. But this one specifically, she really liked. And I trust her judgment. I think if she likes this, I probably will like it. If someone who doesn't usually like dark romance liked it, I feel like that's a good sign. And she actually really liked it, so I just want to know, I want to see for myself if I'm gonna end up liking it or if it's too tame or whatever. I don't know. I mean, she also loved the Mindfuck series and I really loved that series, so who knows, maybe I will also really like it. The last book in my dark romance category is Where There's a Will by Jessie Walker. I think it's part of the Lost Boys series, or maybe the book is called Lost Boys. You know what, I'm gonna check it first. Oh yeah, the series is called Lost Boys and the first book is called Where There's a Will by Jessie Walker. I think I've seen McKay really loved it. I think she also said this book is sad, probably, or maybe I've seen it on TikTok or something. Anyway, I've seen people rave about this and I trust it. If you say the book is sad and you love it, I will probably like it. Or maybe I'm thinking of other books. I don't know, but I just really want to read this. I just remember a couple of months ago when I saw this book, I was like, oh, I really want to read that, but I'm gonna put that on my 2025 TBR because I don't think I will be able to get to it in 2024. So yeah, I put that here. So next and last series for my 2025 TBR is fantasy. Obviously, I have to put some fantasy in here. And the very first one is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. I've read the first book in the series. I've talked about this so many times. The first Crescent City book is actually the book that made me re-fall in love with reading again. It started this whole journey of me becoming obsessed with reading again, like as an adult. So that book holds a very special place in my heart. I've been wanting to read the second one when it came out, but I wasn't able to at the time. And by the time I wanted to actually read it, I've heard people say it's better to read ACOTAR and then Throne of Glass and then this one, because even though they're not belong in the same, like they don't interact with each other, or maybe they will, I don't know. Even if they don't belong in the same world, I think they do belong in the same universe or something like that. So I don't know. I hope I don't spoil anything by reading that book already, but I don't think it will. I think probably something that happened in Throne of Glass will kind of appear or mention in the Crescent City second or third book, maybe. So I don't know. I just want to read them in order, like knowing my own head. I just have to, and it's been a while to get through ACOTAR and Throne of Glass, especially Throne of Glass, because it's just such a long series. I still have 2 books left on Throne of Glass, Tower of Dawn and Kingdom of Ash, and I will for sure finish that as soon as possible, as soon as I'm like really in the mood for it. And after that, I hope I can finally read the second and third book of Crescent City series. I've been putting the second book specifically in my yearly TBR for years now, and I haven't been able to, so I hope this year will be the time. Next is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I have this book again, physically, haven't read that, but I was really interested in it, actually mainly because of the cover, like the UK cover. I really liked it, but I also really interested because obviously it's more romantasy than fantasy. I think it's like milder fantasy. It's not high stake like Fort Wing, ACOTAR or something like that. It has something to do with the war and typewriter or something like that, and letters. That's all I know about the series, but I wasn't able to get to it in 2024, but I still really want to read it, so I put it again in my 2025 TBR. And the next one is also the book that I really want to get into last year but wasn't able to, which is Powerless, the fantasy series by Lauren Roberts. I've heard something like going on with her, but I don't know what it is. If you would like to enlighten me, please do leave a comment about it. But I don't really know why, but I still really want to read her book. I think I will really like it. It's romantasy, but more romance than fantasy, I think, from what I've heard. A lot of people love, like, obsessed with the first book, not so much the second one, but I hope in general it will still be good. But I just want to know. I think I will really like it, you know? Next is another very beloved series, which is Fort Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Fort Wing and Iron Flame. Again, I have both of those books physically, not only one, but I have 2 copies of each of them. One set of hardcover from US and one set of hardcover from Australia, which is just, I know, intense. I don't know why I do that, because I haven't even read the book, you know, or knowing that I will like it. I don't know why I did that, to be honest. So I'm hoping that I will be obsessed with this series, because I already have 2 copies of each, you know. And also, she will come out with the third one in 2025, I think in January. So it's very soon. I don't know if I will be able to read Iron Flame and Fort Wing on time before the third one come out, but I will for sure try to read all 3 in 2025. The last book in my 2025 TBR is a book called Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli. It's the first book from the Crimson Moth series. I think she will come out with the second one soon, right? Yeah, in February. I don't know if I will be able to get to read the first one before then, but I'm super excited. I've seen a lot of people just rave about this series. I've heard people making such all huge claims about it, even saying like this is the best fantasy series that they've ever read. So I just want to know the hype. I don't even know what the book is about, to be honest, but I think it has something to do with a moth. I think, I mean, obviously it's called Crimson Moth, or, you know, butterflies, but I don't know. So that's it. That's all 25 books, or more like 50 books that I put in my 2025 TBR. Hopefully I can read all of them, if not at least half of them, because I was only able to read half of my 2024 TBR. So I hope I can do, if not better, at least as good as I did in 2024. And if you are still here, please let me know what book you are most interested to read. Like, what's your 2025 TBR? Leave a comment down below. And thank you so much for watching. I hope I can see you in another video. Bye guys.